I was just telling Agnes here about my step-grandfather, who was a Polish. This isn't in the book, by the way. We're allowed to do one that's not in the book, Agnes says, so thank you very much. That's very good of you. And this is about a man called Leon Bartecki. He came from Poland to Britain during the Second World War. He fought in 5 air forces on both sides. He was a real survivor. He was an armourer. You can keep your head down when you're doing the armourer. And he came all the way. He went through all this terror, and right across Europe he came. He used to say that he travelled at night, and he had a lorry load of friends and so on the back, and he used to wait until night. And then if he saw a car go by with 2 tail lights, he'd follow it. And if he saw a car going by with 1 tail light, he'd go in the opposite direction, because that was a German VW with 1 tail light. Yeah. See? And he got here. Anyway, he arrived, and the war ended. And then, having put up with all that terror and all that horror and that exile, and knowing that he couldn't go back and all the rest of it, he married my granny and spent 40 years in a battle of attrition with a woman who spoke at one monotonal pitch, which was like that, at him, poor chap. Anyway, this is called Leon Bartecki, and my brother and I used to go there on Wednesday afternoons, for reasons I won't bother to explain to you, on the bus, because we would go there and then we'd have tea with Granny, and then he would take us back to Stithians, where we lived. So this is really the story of that journey, and also the story of 2 little boys growing up in the late 50s, early 60s, when the war had not been that long finished, if you think about it. Each Wednesday, market day in Truro, we would go on the bus to Redruth, walk up by Pettendray, ivy-clothed stack, past Berriman's bakery and Pengelly's dark, oil-stenched garage, and Granny would be in her chair, dictionary splayed across her Daily Mail, lips rolling an anagram around her tongue. We would sing, and she would play her tall black piano. At tea time, he would appear. To us, he was a giant, a mystery. He spoke English words with a Polish mind. He worked in her shop after she'd found him. We never knew how, wandering after the war. He'd come out of his invaded and smashed country. He'd fought on all sides to survive. After tea, he would take us to his shed. There was a gun, a bayonet, fish hooks, and a jar of urine with dead wasps. He kept chickens. We would be set up with gun, pellets, hide, to pick off sparrows. We learned how to kill, how to line the sights, wait, and squeeze the trigger. We learned to not think about life, but to protect the grain which fattened our Sunday dinner. He would take his massive rod to Porthtown and stand all night with the Atlantic frothing about his wader-clad legs. He fought battles and pitched his thoughts against bass and small sharks. Once, he left a still-living shark on the step of our holiday caravan as the sun came up, and we spent all day afraid to step over it, listening to the honeycombs singing, "Have I the right way?" The hunter and his trophy. And he laughed as he picked it up by the tail. He made us smell it, touch it, poke it. Without language, he gave us his message, and with sparrows and sharks, taught us the hardness of war. In the evening, after Wednesday tea and television, Granny had it for the racing, he had it for the pools. We would ride in his Morris Minor along Clinton Road, over Buller Hill, across Buller Downs to Penalveen, past Treseverne to Stithians. One day, I asked, "Leon, what was the war like?" He stopped, up there between Ivy House and Carvanel, turned in his seat and grasped one of our knees in each of his massive hands and squeezed tight so that it hurt, so that our ears would open and our minds draw in his burning words and scold them into our hearts. He shouted, "No more war! No more war! No more war!" And Granny sold the shop. James went to help him on the last day, clear his tools from his bench. As he turned the key in the lock a last time, he cried. James didn't know what to do. His tools rattled in the leather bag he'd made to carry possessions across Europe. They walked slowly up past the station, by Pettendray, past Pengelly's and Berriman's. jar of urine stood on the empty bench. A wasp crawled across the rim and fell. How many do you want me to do now?
Oh, go all the way, right. After that, I think that was fab.
I'm about to try and publish a new book called White, I forgot what it's called, White Crusted Eyes, which you're very welcome to subscribe to at £12 a copy if you'd like to. It's got wonderful photographs of Par, which is a village which has been protected by industry until last year when Imerys and multinational mining organisations shut Par docks and stopped China clay from actually being exported through the docks. It's a wonderful, wonderful place.